Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm making this video to respond to a request that I received on my blog, which was to make a video to show you how to make this card. Now, I'm going to more case this card and change up the colors and make sure that all the materials that I'm showing you today will be available in the new Stampin' Up! Catalog that goes live on June 3rd, because it would be no fun to watch this video so close to the new catalog launch and not be able to purchase the products, which of course you can find a link in the description below for my Stampin' Up! Store. So here's my cardstock sampler ring, and the colors that we're going to use are Mango Melody, Daffodil Delight, Gray Granite, Soft Suede, Night of Navy, Seaside Spray, Garden Green, and Old Olive. So let me set my cardstock ring aside and grab our stamp sets. So we're going to be using the Good Morning Magnolia set. It is a 2-set stamp set, and the Magnolia dies. And then we're also going to be using Forever Blossoms and the Cherry Blossom dies. Now, both of these, for just a couple of more days, are available at bundle pricing through June 2nd, which means that if you buy the stamp set and the dies together with the appropriate item number, you will get a 10% discount on these. Both of these sets, however, and dies will still be available in the new catalog. So let me set these aside. And I've got some Whisper White cardstock here, and the big Magnolia die. Love this flower. And I've got my basic gray ink. I often like basic gray when I'm coloring. Let me see. I think there are a couple of spots that maybe didn't get any. Because the outline isn't quite as bold. It's there, but not as dark, obviously, as black is. So I want that once, and then I want that a second time. Okay, let me set this aside. We're going to do a couple of bits of stamping here real quickly. So another piece of Whisper White. And then this piece from the Forever Blossoms. Now, it is a distinctive stamp, which means that its image isn't such a crisp, just outline stamp as the Magnolia is. Lots of fine detail. And that's also perfect for coloring. So I want 2 of these. And then let me set this aside. And finally, I have one of the single blossoms. And I'm going to just stamp a few of those. Okay. Stamps and ink out of the way, and now we're going to color with Stampin Blends. So I've got a number of these over here, and I'm just going to drag them in to where I can reach them. I'm going to start with the Daffodil Delight, Light and Dark, and the Mango Melody. So let me make sure that I've got my, I like to color primarily with my brush tips. You may prefer the bullet tip. Try them out and see which you like best. I'm going to zoom this in so that I can come in closer and you can see what I'm doing. So let's make sure I've got this in frame. Okay, so I'm going to start down in the center of my petals here with the dark Daffodil Delight. Pardon me while I change the direction, and then bring this up. And then we'll do that here. I've done this flower in lots of pinks and grays, and this is the first time in yellow, but I got up thinking, this would be great in a big yellow flower. Okay, so you can see the idea here. I'm going to turn off the video and finish coloring these two flowers, and then I'll be right back to do the next bit. Okay, so the flower is colored, and then just these 3 petals of the other. Now I am going to come in with some of the dark Mango Melody and using the bullet tip, and I'm just going to kind of dot around in the center. I'm not looking to get rid of all of the white. And then I want to use the brush tip on the light Mango Melody and give some of these petals a little bit of a stroke of color to give them a little more definition. And then I'm going to come back over those with the light Daffodil Delight to blend them a little bit, so that it's a now you see it, now you don't. You get the idea of it without that harsh line of the color. And I'm just using the lines in the petals to guide where I'm adding that extra shading. Okay. Whoops. And gosh, I should do these couple up here as well. So the light Mango Melody. The reason for waiting until I'm done with coloring the flower is you don't want this accent shading totally blended in. And so by letting the base color dry, you'll blend the 2 colors you're putting on and not totally blend that into your petals. It's a design choice. Okay, so next we have leaves to color, and I've got dark and light Old Olive and a little light Mossy Meadow and some light old Granny Apple Green. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do like I did with the flower, and then I'll turn the camera off and do the coloring and come back. So I'm going to start with the light Mossy Meadow in some of these very shaded looking parts, and then I'm coming in with the light dark Old Olive over that, and then wrong end. This is the light Old Olive, You don't want to work around on all of the petals at one time and then come back with another of your blending colors, because the alcohol inks do dry quickly enough that you would end up with hard lines rather than shading. Okay, so you see the idea. Let me turn this off, get my leaves colored, and I'll be right back. Okay, so leaves are colored, and now we need to move on to the stem. And I'm going to put in some dark soft suede. And I am using the bullet tip here because this is a smaller area to work in. And then I'm coming back in with some light soft suede. Okay, and those flowers are pretty much finished. So I'm going to set them aside and we'll move on to the cherry blossoms. Now I've decided my cherry blossoms are going to be blue. I don't know what flower that makes them at this point if I make them blue, but that's where we're going. So this is the Seaside Spray, which is just a lovely blue. It is one of the Stampin' Up in colors for 2019 to 2021, so it will be around for another year. And Seaside Spray, and I think Pretty Peacock in this in color group have been among my most used. So same idea. I'm putting in a little bit of the dark Seaside Spray and then blending out. I'm using some of these detail lines that are in the stamp to guide some of my shading. So there's a bloom, and let's do one of the blossoms here, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I'm going to finish these two up, and I'll come back and we'll do leaves and stems on them. So the cherry blossoms are colored, and now I'm going to come in with the bullet tip of the light soft suede. And as with most of the time when you're coloring with alcohol markers, Stampin' Blends, a light touch is your best friend. So if your hand isn't steady, you can always take an extra finger and put it on your hand. Let's get this one that I missed and help you draw that down through there. And then I've got a couple up here and maybe this little bit here. Okay, so that's the end of the light soft suede. For these leaves, I'm going to use the light and dark old olive and then put in a little bit of the light granny apple green. I know I mentioned that in the leaves on the Magnolia and then did not use it. It just gives a great kind of a vibrant undertone to the leaf. And let's do another one of these. So starting with the dark old olive in here, and then I'm going to come in with some of the light granny apple green and then blend this all together. with the light old olive. So you know the drill. I'm going to finish coloring these leaves and then I'll be right back. Okay, so both sets of flowers are colored. I need to die cut these, but before I step out to do that, I've got a piece of Night of Navy that I have already embossed with the Parisian Flourish 3D embossing folder. I did spritz it using my Stampin' Spritzer with some alcohol before embossing. You will need the detail embossing plate. You will need the specialty embossing plate to use with the 3D folders. This gives great dimension. So before I take this off to heat emboss, I have a piece of scrap paper. I've got a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm going to mix that in with some water. And I've got a paintbrush that I dedicate to sticky, gluey things. And then we're just going to take this slurry and splatter. And let's get a couple more good drops on here. That'll do. Pop this out of the way, take this out of the way just in case it got wet, and grab another piece of scrap paper. And I've got my gold Stampin' Emboss powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over all of the splatter. And this is the molten embossing technique. I love it because once you heat it, it gets all bubbly and nice. So let me take this and heat emboss it, die cut our pieces, and we'll come back and start the assembly. Okay, so I've got die cut pieces here, and I've got this piece that I still need to just use my paper snips and cut out. I've also got a little bit of shimmer embossing paste. Now on the original card I used sparkle glimmer paper, but that is retiring, and so are the dazzling diamonds, but I still wanted some heavy sparkle, so I'm punching some sprigs with my sprig punch. It is a great punch if you want to just add a little lightness and texture to a design. And then I'm just going to use my palette knife and add the shimmer embossing paste to the ends of these so that I get that sparkle that I want in there. The white by itself would be nice. The sparkle, of course, is even better. So the embossing paste, it's great to take it out and put it on your silicone craft sheet, as it does not stick as readily to that. And then, of course, you know, or perhaps you don't, that once you're through with adding the embossing paste to something, you need to either stick these in water, the silicone craft sheet and your palette knife in water right away, or go ahead and wash them off. So I'm going to set these pieces aside to dry, and then I'll grab my paper snips and we'll cut this out. So let's just move this out of the way, and then we'll do our little cutting over here. And As always, it's turning the paper into your scissors, not moving your scissors around. And you're not going to use much of that blade in your scissors. You're not fully opening and closing. It's small movements. And then just come on around. And there we have our piece. Okay, let's take these out of the way and we'll get on to the next step. Okay, a couple of texture details to do before we begin assembly. I've got my Stampin' Pierce mat, and though it is not listed in the new annual catalog, it is still available. And I've got the large ball end of my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm just going to stroke this in gently towards the center. You don't want to rip your cardstock. You just want it to do exactly what it's doing there and kind of curl up. And as long as we're playing not too hard, you don't want to poke this through. I have done that when pressing too hard, and hey, if you do, just cut another piece and do it again. We're not talking about a large piece of cardstock here. So you just, this will give this piece a little bit of lift. And then I've got some of these single cherry blossoms, and I want to do the same thing. And I'm thinking, as I see that they're still attached here between the petals, that I probably need to come in and open these up just a little bit. And it's just a quick little V-cut in here, and then these petals will lift. Okay, now let's do this again. So around in the center, and that gives it a nice little cup. And I'm going to do a couple more of these, and I'll speed up the video through this section. Okay, let's pop that out of the way and bring our pieces in and start the assembly. So I have a gray granite card base and a piece of Whisper White for the inside. And then I have this strip of Night of Navy that was part of my embossed piece with the Parisian Flourish embossing folder, and I cut off an 1/8 inch off of both the long and the short side, so that piece is not your standard measurement. We'll get to that in a moment. Okay, oops, my fingers are not wanting to hold this on here. Okay, let's see if we can give that a little bit of a slide. Nope, we're there, so we'll trim this off the end and then use the multi-purpose glue to adhere this to the inside. Okay, and then let's move on to the outside. So I have a piece of gold foil sheet and then this piece of Night of Navy. Now the gold foil sheet is 4 1/16 by 5 5/16, and this piece is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Now, as I mentioned, I did cut the Night of Navy down. An 1/8 inch on both sides. Now, whoops, let's hold this here a moment, down at the bottom. And then let's adhere this to the card base. And because I'm leaving myself a more narrow border around the outside of my layers, I'm adhering this directly to the card base rather than using dimensionals. If I use dimensionals, you might not be able to see the card base. Kind of an optical illusion. So we're going to do what I call dry fitting, which is laying the pieces on here. I do want to go ahead and add some mini dimensionals to this piece and put it in the center here. And I want to offset this. If I do it here, it lines up directly with this same stamped image. But if I turn it just a little bit, it creates even more dimension. And then let's lay these in, tuck them in underneath, and kind of see what we get. Okay, so I'm going to cut this because I want some of these up here. And going to do the same thing here and cut this apart. And I actually want this shorter piece here. And then I'm going to stick this fuller piece down here. Okay. So let's get to some adhering. Okay. Now often all I do is put glue on the end of a piece rather than all the way out at the end. The piece that's tucked under when I say the end of the piece. And that way, that free part, since it does not lie completely flat, adds additional dimension to the card. Oop, there we go. Little piece that hadn't popped out when I die cut. And I'm trying not to cover up all my gold splatter here. And let's just pick this up and add a little adhesive down here, since I've already kind of trapped it on here. And I want some dimensionals on the back of my Magnolia, but I'm going to use the black Stampin' dimensionals since this is on a dark background. And be generous with your dimensionals. It does not hurt anything. In fact, it will help the appearance of your creation by not having saggy bits. So let's pull the backs off. These are inexpensive, maybe 2 cents a piece. Okay. And then I want to tuck in some of these that we've added a little more dimensional too with our Take Your Pick tool, and we're just going to slide them in at spots. Let's lift that up carefully and pop that in there. Okay, we're going to leave that for just a moment. Now, in my desire to finish, I did forget that I had added some fibers to the previous card, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I like tear and tape for my ribbon, so I've added a piece here, and let's grab that. Oh, don't have the pokey end on my Take Your Pick tool, so there we go. And I've got the combo pack of Forever Greenery ribbon, and we're going to put down a piece of this open weave vanilla ribbon. I really like the texture and how soft this is, so let me lift this and tuck the end in here, and I'm just going to fold this over for additional kind of texture happening here. Grab my ribbon scissors. Okay, and pull this out of the way, and then I've got some of this braided gold trim, which I just think is lovely. Going to do 3 loops of that, and grab a mini glue dot. Okay, with the glue dot here just holding my loops together, I'm going to gently lift and tuck this right in here. And let's see, if I want just one more of these, I might. And in fact, I think I'm going to cut it in half and tuck it right in behind here. Okay, so that is our second version of this Good Morning Magnolia card. And here is, oh, I forgot my embossing paste sprig punch pieces. Let's go ahead and tuck those down in. And if you don't put a lot of embossing paste on, these will dry relatively quickly. Just going to pull this leaf up a little bit so that I can tuck this in. And let's see if we've got room under here to tuck. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Not sure I like that there. Okay. So that may be it, just the two of them. Although I'm kind of determined to have them in here. So I'm going to cut that off and stick a couple right there. Okay. Now I think we've got it. And I've got some pearls here to finish off. And let's just stick a couple of these in. And the bigger ones are great over in here where there's a lot going on. Now I do like to kind of keep to an odd number. Okay, that's just enough. Okay, let's pull that original in here. So here are our 2 Good Morning Magnolia cards. All of the products used on this card are still available through June 2nd, or are currently available, having checked the retiring inventory list this morning. And everything used on this card is available in the new Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. If you need a Stampin' Up! Catalog, click the Request a Catalog link in the description below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and click the bell if you would like to receive notifications of the new videos that I upload. Thank you for stopping in. This was Sara Levin, the Artful Inker of theartfulinker.com. I would love if you shop for your current Stampin' Up! Products in my store, and have a great day. Bye!